Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's around 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, July 4th, coming on with an update on dangerous Hurricane Beryl that is heading next toward the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. A dangerous hurricane, maximum sustained winds of around 110 miles per hour, moving quickly still west-northwestward at about 18 miles per hour across the northwestern Caribbean Sea. This is the radar that we're looking at from Grand Cayman, and you can see the eye still very well defined in the radar imagery as Beryl pulls away from the Cayman Islands. The good news for those folks is that the hurricane warnings have been discontinued for the Caymans. Could still see some gusty winds and heavy rainfall in these showers as they pass through in the outer bands to the east of Beryl's center as the storm moves quickly to the west-northwest away from those islands. We zoom out and we take a little wider view with the infrared satellite. You can still see vigorous thunderstorm activity, strong showers and thunderstorms bursting near the eye of Beryl. We still have the hurricane hunters in there today. They indicate the maximum sustained winds now are around 110 miles per hour. And Beryl is again quickly moving west-northwestward. You can see the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula here. The conditions are going to rapidly deteriorate along the east coast of the Yucatan Peninsula this evening and overnight, with the center expected to make landfall early Friday morning along the east coast of the Yucatan. So we're first going to take a look at the hazards there. This is the probability of hurricane force winds is greatest within that hurricane warning area that runs from Cancun down to Puerto Costa Maya, including the island of Cozumel. So everywhere in this area, you need to be prepared for the core of the hurricane moving onshore and those dangerous hurricane force winds. In addition, we are expecting 3 to 5 feet of storm surge inundation above ground level somewhere in this hurricane warning area, near and to the right, especially of where the center makes landfall tomorrow morning. But the waters are going to start to rise ahead of the landfall because Beryl has generated this very large wave field that's racing out ahead of the hurricane, and those large breaking waves are going to start to reach the coast this evening well in advance of the landfall. So we could start to see a foot or two of inundation as those waves run up along the coast, with the 3 to 5 feet of inundation expected near and to the right of the center where that makes landfall. So if you're in a flood-prone area or in an area prone to storm surge, you've been asked to evacuate by your local officials. Please follow that advice. After landfall, Beryl is going to weaken. We are still expecting it to be a strong tropical storm as it moves across the Yucatan Peninsula during the day on Friday and moving out into the Gulf of Mexico Friday evening. We have tropical storm warnings in effect from Cancun all the way around the north coast of the Yucatan Peninsula to Campeche. And here is the chance of tropical storm force winds very high within that area. So now we're going to zoom out. Actually, we are going to talk a little bit about the rainfall impacts here in the Yucatan before we move on to the western Gulf Coast. We are expecting 4 to 6 inches of rainfall widespread across portions of the Yucatan State, Quintana Roo, even down into northern portions of Belize. We could get some heavy rainfall, but we're expecting isolated amounts as high as 10 inches in portions of the Yucatan, basically just south of Cozumel and Cancun area. So the combination of that rainfall and the storm surge in coastal areas could create some very serious flooding. So again, you're going to want to be in your safe place by nightfall tonight and shelter in place in that hurricane warning area along the east coast of the Yucatan overnight tonight and into Friday, through much of the day Friday before Beryl moves out into the Gulf of Mexico Friday evening. Now, beyond that time, the hurricane is expected to weaken to a tropical storm over land, but we are forecasting some re-strengthening here over the Gulf of Mexico as Beryl turns more northwestward and approaches the coast of northeastern Mexico and South Texas. We are forecasting it to be at or near hurricane strength by Monday morning and expected to make landfall somewhere in that vicinity. It's a little too early to get very specific with where we expect those worst hazards, but again, we are going to be looking at the probability of damaging hurricane force winds potentially. Certainly tropical storm force winds will be likely along some portions of the coast from northeastern Mexico to South Texas. The most likely time of arrival of those winds will be sometime during the day on Sunday or into Sunday evening. And we'll expect those conditions to deteriorate as we go through Sunday night and into Monday. Now, there's also going to be the potential for storm surge and coastal flooding along portions of the western Gulf of Mexico coast. Again, we'll be able to better refine what areas are most at risk of that as we go through the rest of the week and into the weekend. Is the potential for very heavy rainfall as well. There are some indications that Beryl could slow down as it nears the coast or even after it makes landfall. This is the flash flooding risk on Sunday for portions of Texas. You can see a level 2 out of 4 risk for places areas like Brownsville, McAllen, Corpus Christi. This risk will continue into Monday and perhaps even into beyond that into next week, and we'll be able to better refine and understand what that risk area looks like as we go through the next couple of days. I do want to mention also the danger of rip currents that's going to expand across much of the coast of the Gulf of Mexico as the wave field with Beryl that was generated in the Caribbean moves into the Gulf, starts to reach the Gulf Coast beaches as we go through this holiday weekend here in the United States. And just a reminder, it can be an otherwise very nice day at the beach, but you can have deadly wave conditions and ocean conditions from a distant hurricane. So please never assume that the ocean is safe, even if the weather is nice outside. And swim near a lifeguard and follow any advice that's given or flags that are flying that are warning you about the dangers of rip currents and dangerous surf, or warning you to stay out of the ocean. So again, as we go into this holiday weekend in the U.S., just a reminder for people, especially in South Texas, to continue to check back for updates to the forecast as we go through the next several days. So again, just to recap, very concerned about multiple life-threatening impacts in the Yucatan Peninsula overnight tonight and into Friday as the center of Beryl makes landfall somewhere in the northeastern Yucatan Peninsula early Friday morning. Life-threatening hurricane force winds, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge inundation above ground level, up to 10 inches of rainfall, and then the risk of those hazards will continue across portions of the Yucatan Peninsula in terms of the tropical storm warning area, and then approaching the northeastern coast of Mexico and South Texas as we go later into the weekend and into early next week. So stay tuned for more updates on Hurricane Beryl as we go through the next few days, and get more information at hurricanes.gov. I'm Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center.